you travel just a few hours southwest of Darwin, you come to what seems like a completely different country. This is the Port Keats Daly River area, and it's as wild a country as I've ever seen. Out here, the people, the landscape, the wildlife, everything is truly outback and seems like it's a million miles from anywhere else in Australia. What really makes this place special though, I think, is the people. The local knowledge is what shows you off the best places out here and what really helps you to understand this landscape. Luckily, we've got heaps of that. The road to Port Keats from Darwin gets progressively narrower as you get further and further from the Big Smoke. The last real vestige of civilization is the Daly River Inn on the banks of the Daly River. Every outback pub shares a certain philosophy of decor. Every manner of detritus is nailed to the walls, faded photographs, bullhorns, and other rural ephemera. You always feel like the welcome stranger stumbling across a well in the desert. G'day, Steve.
Carl, how are you?
Good, mate. You run a pretty legendary pub out here, the Daly River Inn?
Oh, yeah, I think so. It's got a lot of stories to tell before my time, but yeah, it's an interesting pub to run.
Yeah, you can tell the floodwaters come up here fairly often?
Yeah, they do. The last big one was 2015-16, and it hit about 15.1, I think, which came up to the second step out the front of the pub there. And
that's what the tenny out the front's for, that's to get to work, eh?
Well, it was tied up out the front on a tree stump, but we didn't have to use it. We got taken out by friends by boat, and then airlifted out, so that was an interesting time.
It's definitely a place that is defined by the water, I suppose. A lot of blokes come out here chasing barramundi.
It's a draw card, like it's the home of the big barra. It's beautiful, you know, upstream and downstream. Yeah. If you've got a boat, you can do it. Otherwise, land-based fishing, there's plenty of it around, but there's only a couple of safe spots that I'm aware of.
You're also pretty much the only pub for a while in any direction?
Yeah, well, that's rather fortunate for the people that own it. Yeah, there's only one other, Pepper Minardi. Yeah, there's nothing out at Port Keats. There's quite a large population out there too.
Yeah, that's a lot of people with no pub, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pat Williams, who works on the 4-Wheel Drive Touring Australia magazine with me, had flown up to come for a fish in the wild. I reckon that we would be slacking if we didn't put the boat into the Daly River to try for a barra. I don't think I've ever seen so many saltwater crocodiles in one place. This river feels wild, prehistoric even. There are thousands of snags around every bend. It feels like stepping back in time to an era before man. The legendary Barra River wasn't going to deliver today though. With limited time in one place, some days you're going to be chasing the tides instead of the fish. Pat even managed to hook up to one beauty, but losing a barra, that's part and parcel of fishing for this elusive species. They wouldn't be worth all the trouble we put in chasing them if they were easy to catch. Anyway, we had a date further up the road in Port Keats, and time and tide wait for no man. So we saddled up again and started the long drive west out to the coast. Daly River was our last taste of paved roads for a week or so. It would be dirt and dust and mud from here on out. We were in the outback now, and it was seeping into us. Australia has some of the toughest roads in the world, and the part of your 4-wheel drive that has to take that head on is your tires. They need to be tough, and they need to be proper 4-wheel drive tires. And one of the biggest reasons that you need these guys is so that you can manipulate the tire pressures to suit the terrain that you're driving on. With proper 4-wheel drive tires, you've got the ability to let your pressure right down, and that's going to allow you to maintain flotation in soft sand, get you through really muddy sections, and even give yourself a little bit softer ride on those brutal corrugations. And when it comes to tire pressures, there's a lot of contention out there about what's right for what situation, but there's a couple of handy guides that you can use. Most people, for soft sand, are going to be dropping these guys down to around 15 PSI. And there's still a bit of room there. If you're still stuck and you've still got clearance under your vehicle, you really can go down to as low as 5 or 6. Just don't leave it there for very long because you can run your tire off the rim if the pressures are too low. For corrugated gravel roads, I usually run at about 25 PSI. And that flattens these guys out a little bit, gives me a bit more traction, and definitely softens that ride up so that tires are taking a little bit of sacrifice, but it saves the rest of the drivetrain all that vibration. For highway use, pretty much just go by what's on the side of the tire. So I'm usually running around 45 to 50 PSI on this, depending on how much load's in the vehicle, but you do have to have decent four-wheel drive tires. You're not going to be able to let those pressures down and still have the control that you need for every situation out here.